Hello all, my name is Dakota Rose Goodman. I'm a trip leader and a river guide with Oars and Dories. I'm also an academic dedicated to her career to water resources management, specifically river restoration and preservation. Last May, about a year ago, I graduated with from UC Berkeley with a BA in environmental history with a minor in human rights and an emphasis in psychology with a BS in society and the environment. There, I concentrated on California water resources, wrote 3 theses that are all in preparation for my dissertation that I will do up here. During my time at Berkeley, I started the first campus chapter of Friends of the River on the Berkeley campus since the organization's founding. So why this interest in rivers? I grew up on rivers. Up until I was 3 years old, my parents owned a whitewater rafting business in Northern California. After the company dissolved, I started dancing more. There was less river time, but I'd still get out on a trip every single summer. It was like returning home. I found a connection to these sacred places, and it would end up inspiring some of my research. Before I go into the details of that, this poem was written the semester I was conducting research on the Stanislaus Canyon. That thesis is called The Personification of Natural Waterscapes. It's in remembrance of places that we've lost. Poem 2.25. What is this mode of articulation? A screen that cannot receive writing. A technology in the age of continuous expansion. To reconnect to the mind of another instantly. Where is the old connection of souls? It takes time to tap in, the moments that are not allotted while the body is urban. The inspiration gets pushed under many layers, hiding. The hurt that doesn't need to be engaged. It is easier to hide behind words when awe has overcome the mind. To express an image through language, but what does that all truly mean? Once it's been stripped, does the creator aim to create a new world, or are they simply remembering? Creation is the key to undoing the binds of capital. When the answer lays within the problem, how will we be able to express the layers, no longer of the self or the many faceless, or the tragedy written into our reality? Only when lost will mobilization occur, to join beyond a martyred cause, from the loss of a concept larger than one species, in a fight to preserve the places where awe occurs. So like I mentioned, while I was at Berkeley, I wrote 3 theses. Yeah, some people call me an overachiever. One of these theses was the foundation for a future book I hope to write, and is also going to be integrated into a hopeful dissertation. Like was mentioned, I am here for the JD PhD concurrent program in water resources, and I hope to argue a new point to make rivers persons. Why do we allow capitalism to have personhood? Why are corporations people within our legal language? Well, I'm asking, why can't rivers be? So the personification of natural waterscapes is a history thesis exploring the impact of the Stanislaus in a river in California, which is considered the last river lost because it was the end of the major dam building era and the launch of the modern river restoration movement in 1973. So once a river has been harmed or a section of it has been killed by a dam or another man-made intrusion, this loss can have the same impact as the loss of a leader in a social protest movement, which you heard me allude to in that poem. The Stand campaign set the foundation for the modern movement with the launch of a very influential organizations in thinking. It is not just the feeling of love as the main argument for why we should protect rivers, and not just rivers, but nature and our planet as a whole. My concentration is rivers, but for those of you who have passions in any part of this planet, follow that, target it, and concentrate on it. So like I was saying, it's not just love, but it's science, it's social science, it's economics, it's cultural impact. And we need all of those to defend and save rivers, but also save our climate. So going into the next part of my research, it has more to do with the health for the environment and the health of humans. HEAL is a two-part thesis that's going to be integrated in Idaho more now that I'm up here to bring in underprivileged youth, indigenous populations, and everyone else, all human beings, to a river canyon to both learn about the place that they're being exposed to, the people they're around, and then have a motivation to go out and further learn about their watershed, their locality, the resources that they have access to in what they call home. So what I've done is I've looked at both primary and secondary research and put together interdisciplinary information pertaining to human rights, environmental justice, science education, outdoor education, etc. And then I conducted an observational analysis. So I actually studied people that I took down the river. Sometimes they knew, sometimes they didn't. But it's an interesting thing to watch somebody go on a multi-day river trip if they haven't ever been exposed to it, or even if they have, because the guides change as well throughout these summers. So what my research was concentrating on is that after 3 days in a river canyon, your psyche starts to change. No matter how old or young you are, no matter who you are, where you're from, you will be impacted positively. You will start to be able to think of new things, more creative things, or be open to other ideas that you may not have been open to in the past. This is the awe impact, and that's one of the many reasons why we should protect these places. Make sure we're on. Let's get forward. Perfect. So that wraps up Berkeley, and it goes into what I'm doing now and why I'm here in Moscow. So why conduct all this research, and where does the passion come from, and why not go out and implement it? Well, I truly believe that education is power, knowledge is power, and I am pursuing a law degree and a PhD because I want to develop the best argument I can to go and change policy. I hope to enter the policy arena as I continue my graduate work. I'm actually heading to Washington, D.C. this summer to work with the Subcommittee for Water, Oceans, and Wildlife in the House of Representatives. So, little Moscow is going to be represented in Washington, D.C. this summer. But more personally, I want to help create a world that respects rivers and uses water sustainably. Rivers are a resource socially and recreationally, but also for human life. I'm now wrapping up my first year of my JD PhD, and I will emphasize in water law, native law, environmental law for that JD. For my PhD, like I mentioned, I hope to research the possibility of designating rivers as people. Last year, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. A lot has been accomplished in the last 50 years, and more accomplishments will come. I presented at a conference in celebration of this anniversary and concluded with the following call to action last October. For everyone who's working to save rivers, who's working to save the climate, who's working to save the earth, When you reach the top, keep on climbing. If you've been successful, don't get lazy. Keep navigating those streams. Search other tributaries. Keep going down the river and exploring the other possibilities. Keep searching for solutions. And that's why we're here today. We're talking about, or what we're celebrating today. We're talking about the Juliana case, Juliana versus United States, and our Children's Climate Trust. So this year, I got involved with the Environmental Law Society at University of Idaho, and I will be president next year. This year, I was the 1L rep and immediately started planning a lot of different events and bringing people together to talk about the issues of our environment and what we're facing in the next decade, 50 years, 100 years, hopefully. So what you see up on the screen is a sample of the interp card that I created after we had Mary Wood come and speak. Mary Wood is one of the advisors for the Juliana case. She's out of University of Oregon, and she came and spoke at the law school. After that, I was inspired to continue the momentum within our community. So I created this interp card that's been sent out to Palouse Elementary, to the high school, and also not just in Idaho, but throughout the West. It spread quickly. I have connections to Grand Canyon Youth, and they're actually using this interp card on their trips for this summer. So what is our Children's Trust all about? You heard Greta's speech, and you probably heard bits and pieces of what this movement is pushing for. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's our Children's Trust. It's protecting the planet for future generations. So their mission statement reads as this: our Children's Trust elevates the voice of youth to secure the legal right to a stable climate and healthy atmosphere for the benefit of all present and future generations. Through our programs, youth participate in advocacy, public education, and civic engagement to ensure the viability of all natural systems in accordance with science. Our mission is to protect the Earth's atmosphere and natural systems for present and future generations. We lead a game-changing legal campaign seeking systematic, science-based emissions reductions and climate recovery policy at all levels of government. We give young people, those most at stake in the climate crisis, a voice, favorably impacting their futures. And to conclude, not only is this interp card being spread, and if you guys would like access to it, I'd love to share it with anyone. There are folks in the room that have my contact information. But we're also working to live stream the hearing that was mentioned, the Ninth Circuit hearing. And right now, that hearing is probably going to be live streamed in Boise, but if there's enough interest, I can work on getting it live streamed here. It is in June, so the university will be pretty dead, but we can make that happen if the community is interested, because it's not just an academic pursuit, it's a community pursuit, and we'd love for anyone who's interested in getting involved with the Environmental Law Society events to come to the events and show interest. So thank you.